Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I'm here with one of our 2 end-of-the-year videos. This is the top 20 crowdfunding games of 2021. To be clear, these are games that I covered from crowdfunding on Kickstarter and Gamefound this year that have not released yet. And I covered about 40 of these, so we'll see which 20 made the cut. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, remember you can support us through Patreon. We have a bunch of exclusive content up there now, so lots of fun things to see. You can also listen to our weekly podcast, check out our separate streaming channel with even more content, or join in the conversation on our Discord. But enough preamble, let's get into the best solo and cooperative crowdfunding games of 2021. First, at number 20, we've got one that I covered very recently, The Realm of Shadows. This was 3 solo games. First, you have the Hand of Destiny, which, like Palm Island, can be played in the palm of your hand. You're basically trying to fight through enemies to get to bosses. This one I enjoyed pretty well. It was fun to level up and play the cards, but they had some balance issues that they are trying to address, so I'm hoping that the game will work really well once the final copy comes out. But yeah, this was a pretty good one. Then there was my personal favorite of the set, The Forgotten Road. This was a little adventure game where you progressed along places, and it was a mix of card play and dice rolling. And this one I liked because it had a nice sense of adventure, a nice sense of progression. It's very tough, but it gives you a lot of mitigation and knowledge of what's coming up ahead. So the cards and dice don't feel as random and don't control your fate as much. Definitely enjoyed this one. And the third one, The Last Stronghold, was all right. This is kind of more of a tower defense one, kind of similar to Tiny Epic Defenders. But they are changing the dice, which was my biggest problem with the game, trying out some suggestions we talked through. So I think this one could also be really fun. So I'm not sure if the games will all turn out as well as I hope. If so, this could be a lot higher than number 20. But for now, that's where it falls, since I'm not sure exactly how they'll develop it out. And next is Distilled. This is a Euro game of distilling spirits and selling them and trying to gain fame and prestige. And you have a little bit of like upgrading by getting cards. You can see those now. And then you would have kind of like this random mini game sort of thing where when you distill a spirit, you shuffle a bunch of ingredients together and you randomly take some out and you might get like surprising flavors and stuff. I found that part really fun. I thought the solo worked well. It's kind of like this pyramid you're trying to progress up with objectives. So this one's pretty good. I mean, Euros with solo modes are usually not my absolute favorite. I prefer to play them competitively, but this was one that I actually really enjoyed. And I think the theme is fun. So this is why number 19. I think this could be a real winner. Just, again, not as much to my taste as a gamer. I think others will really love this one. Next, at number 18, we have Agents of Smersh Epic Edition. This is a game I played way back in the day, but this is a new edition from Everything Epic Games. And this is one that is fun in a way. See, I really love choose your own adventures, and I like little narrative adventures, and my sons really like them. So this is one that I plan to play with them. But to be fair, this game is entirely random. There's a lot of dice rolling and seeing if you like pass these tests and stuff. There's a ton of reading. This is very much a book game where the board doesn't matter that much. And there is a little bit of limited replay at the end because you have like these giant epic showdowns, which are kind of more of a branching narrative where you fight against the boss. Those are pretty cool, but once you've seen all of them, then there will be less replay value in the game. But again, this is one that I like mainly because I think I'll play with my sons and I just enjoy this type of game. I think for others, this would probably be a little bit lower, but for me, it really fits into my taste. I kind of the opposite of Distilled there. I think Distilled's probably a better game, but it's not as much in alignment with me. So that's number 18, Agents of Smersh Epic Edition. Next, we get to one of the 4X games I covered this year. This is Fractal, which was competing around the same time with Voidborne, or Voidfall, sorry, which will be later on my list. But this is a nice one. I liked how the AI worked. It kind of models an actual player, and you have asymmetric factions you can play around with. It has all of the classic 4X elements. Now, the research tree was a little bit dull, but after my video, they said that they were going to make more technologies and give you more variety, which is pretty awesome that they were responsive in that way. And yeah, this one has a nice action system. It has like these action cards you can use in this offer that will give you different options and things. It has like artifacts you can find. Again, the empires are fairly different. You have ones that are more like Zerg and ones that are more like, you know, terrain or technology focused. Terrain, I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Fractal is a good one. I don't think I liked it or found it quite as innovative as Voidfall, but for some people it might be much more of a winner. So yeah, this is one that I'm definitely excited to try more of, even though it might be a little bit, you know, longer as a genre than what I usually play these days. But yeah, that is Fractal, one to look out for. All right, next at number 16, we have the latest Hunted game. This is Hunted Wode Ridge. I covered the other Hunted games earlier this year. These are games where you're laying out cards in a row and like kind of building up danger, and then you kind of have to push your luck and see which actions you want to try to shoot for. And this one is very much themed after Kids on Bikes, Stranger Things, It kind of stuff, which I love. I think the art in this entire series is awesome. I think the choices of kind of like pushing your luck are fun. The dice were a little bit wonky in this one, but again, I talked to the designer and he's going to change them up in a way that I think will make them a lot better and a lot more tense. This one also has a fun kind of, what's it called, upside down mechanic, like in Stranger Things, where you go to like a different version of the world. There's a little bit of narrative at the end when you fight whatever the boss is. There's like this little puzzle board you lay out evidence on, which is a little bit superfluous, honestly, and will just make what should be a fairly small game a little bit bigger, but I still enjoyed it fine. But yeah, the art, the theme, the little bit of narrative, and the fun intention of the basic gameplay in this one, I just kind of like this series in general. Definitely makes this, I think, one to look out for, and I'm excited again to play this hopefully soon. And then we have Beyond the Rift, which is the Perdition's Mouth. Instead of a dungeon crawler, it's an adventure card game. And yeah, this is one that I was really surprised by because I like Perdition's Mouth okay. I think it's a good design, but it's not one that I necessarily enjoyed. But this one kind of uses a lot of these similar mechanics, like the cards you're seeing right now on the screen are pretty similar to the Perdition's Mouth action cards. But the way this one works, the variety of scenarios, at least the ones I got to see, the campaign mode looks kind of cool because you kind of build up injuries like in Perdition's Mouth, but you also get items that add like permanent cards to your deck and give you other options. There's a ton of cooperation in how you can boost each other's cards, like tons of turn-by-turn chances to help each other out and give each other bonuses and powers. And the characters are very diverse. Again, like I said, the scenarios are different. Sometimes you're like running away, sometimes you're fighting, sometimes you're searching for treasure, sometimes you're rescuing people from burning houses. And I don't know, adventure card games are one of my favorite kind of genres overall, and this is a really good one. And, you know, the graphic design is not the best. I forget if they said they were going to add some more illustrations to it. I think it could use it because it definitely looks a little bit dated. Although, you know, looking at these orcs on the screen right now, I think they look fine. But yeah, that's like one of the one things I would complain about for the game. But the actual gameplay is really cool. So yeah, looking forward again. And I'm kind of breaking my record here. Of course, I'm looking forward to these games. These are the ones getting up to toward the top of my list. But yes, I definitely want to play more Beyond the Rift. And on to number 14, we've got Lands of Galzyr. This is pretty similar to Agents of Smersh in that it is a ton of reading and kind of like a choose your own adventure and then resolve some skill checks kind of game. But this one is where Smersh is like, you know, pretty fun and maybe has some limited replay. This one I found a lot more charming. It's in this beautiful location. You have these lovely meeples like you're seeing on screen. The board kind of changes, like the cities can sometimes be affected by your actions. There's like a little bit of feeling of permanence. You have fun encounters that are really well written, like every second you go into the game. And like these tags give you bonuses. The items you have can give you like different powers and mitigation effects. You get the 2 rolls of the dice, which I totally messed up in my playthrough and made the game seem way harder, but it's not as bad as it seemed. And again, this is not going to appeal at all to people who don't like rolling dice and reading stuff. Like that's the entire game. But I think the writing is excellent. The world is great. The one potential negative for me is that there's not really an ending. Like if you play through 12 months, you kind of reach like sort of a narrative stopping point. But basically it's a game that you're supposed to be able to play forever, quote unquote. And while that might be a selling point for some, open worlds aren't my favorite thing. I like more of a defined endpoint. So I'm still really excited about this one, but that definitely brings it down a bit. Now we get to a small little game, So You've Been Eaten. This is one that you can play 1v1 or you can play solo on either side. They also say they have 0 player mode. I don't know why they say that. I don't know why anybody cares because almost every game that has an automa has a 0 player mode, at least the ones that automate multiple players. You can kind of switch between them. But that aside, this is a fun game where you're a miner trying to mine crystals from inside of like a giant creature. And you can play as the miner, which is sort of like a dice placement game. And you're trying to get these crystals and protect yourself. And that one's fun. I like dice placement. This gives you pretty interesting options. But then you can switch up the game entirely, go to the other side for solo, and play as the creature, and actually be arranging the kind of cards you see in the gullet in the middle of the screen here. And the creature like levels up. The miner can get equipment and kind of level up too. And it's really quick, and it really provides like 2 experiences for solo players, and I found both of them very enjoyable. I slightly preferred the miner, but both are really good. There is definitely some luck, but it's a quick experience. It's fun. It's goofy. I find the art very charming and kind of the components overall. So yeah, I think this is a really nice one. I can see myself playing this with my son, definitely. kind of switching off sides, or even just having him play solo and me kind of coaching him. But yeah, So You've Been Eaten, a really cute one I'm looking forward to. And next we've got Union City Alliance. This is a cooperative deck builder superhero game. And sorry, what you're seeing on the screen is TTS. I never got to play a physical prototype of this one. But this is cool in that you move around this city of tiles, and the cards you use to deck build are on the spaces of the city. So like you'll see that Texas-sized hero card in the middle of the screen. If I move to that location, I can then deck build that into my deck. And this one also has a neat thing in that each of the heroes has their own unique deck and their own unique cards, and they kind of pull like half from that and half from cards for other heroes. So unlike a lot of deck builders, when you are playing a hero, you have a lot of uniqueness and a lot of combos kind of built in. I think that's really fun. And I only got to play one of the like main enemy decks, which is this one you see here, like this dinosaur takeover one. So I can't say for sure whether like the other scenarios are varied enough and whether they're fun, but I think the core gameplay and the deck building and the uniqueness of the characters and the heroes is great. And I like superhero games like this anyway. So yep, here we go, Union City Alliance. And finally, number 11, just outside of the top 10, another deck builder and one that I've loved for many years. This is Core Worlds, specifically Core Worlds Nemesis. I mentioned this in my top deck builder video recently. Core Worlds Nemesis is the new solo mode that's coming out, I think, early next year. And Core Worlds is already one of my favorite games. You are basically invading planets and adding them to your empire. And then you're also buying cards, which are usually units and like spaceships and stuff that you can fight with. And they have tons of special abilities, tons of combos. They've released many expansions that add a lot of fun stuff to the game. And one of the coolest things about the Automa is that it allows you to play with any expansions or none of them. You can keep the game as simple and streamlined or complex as you like. And this one has some of the best decisions I've ever seen in a deck builder. There's not one where you just play out your hand and it's super obvious. You really have to think carefully about which cards you buy and which planets you conquer and how you spend your actions and how you spend your energy. Just a lot of delicious stuff going in this game and a huge epic feeling of, conquering this entire empire. And the cards get so much stronger by the end of the game. So yeah, one of my favorite deck builders and so excited to see the solo mode. It just missed breaking into the top 10, but I think the Automa works super smoothly and is definitely a challenge. This is one I fully recommend once it's out. And starting off the top 10, here's what I mentioned earlier. This is Voidfall. And again, I only got to play this on TTS, and I should have said that for Fractal as well. So Fractal and Voidfall, both big space 4Xs, and both have competitive and solo and cooperative play. Voidfall definitely changes it up for the co-op a lot more, whereas Fractal was just kind of having an Automa. In this case, you're actually like fighting against this enemy empire, and you're trying to all defeat them, and they are like super overpowering and very tough to capture quickly. Now, Voidfall is very much focused on these really tough action choices. You saw the action card a second ago. You have tracks to raise up your empire. And I didn't get to see a lot of empire differentiation in the plays I had. I saw more of that in Fractal, but the designers have assured me that there are some much more complex and really different empires than I saw. So I am really excited by this one. The core action play is great. Now, it is a complex game. This is Mind Clash. It's kind of like Icon Overload, but Tool is doing a great job making things clear. And I was able to teach the game pretty readily. I was able to play it with David Turtzi, one of the main designers. And this is a really good one. It's from the same team that did Imperium Classics and Legends, and I think those designers are really working well together. So it's Nigel Buckle and, as I already mentioned, David Turtzi. So yes, this is another one I want to see, and I'm a bit more confident with this one than Fractal, at least for me. The solo co-op being its own kind of integrated mode that they spend a ton of time on seems maybe a little bit more confidence-inducing than the Automa, although I think the Fractal Automa is working really well. Again, it might be too much of a game and too long of a game. There is a lot going on. It takes a while to play for me to get to the table regularly, but it is one that I do want to dive into, and these action choices are so tough, and there's great cooperation, especially with like these cooperative cards you can play. So yes, Voidfall, another one to look out for, my number 10. And kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum for complexity is my number 9, Senjutsu, which is basically samurai ninjas go stabby with each other. This is a sword fighting game. I love the theme. And it's a very quick playing game with a lot of like tactical decisions. Well, are there tactical decisions? That's for you to decide. I found that there were, but a lot of people won't, because the basic idea of this one is you're playing a card and the enemy plays a card and they're both face down. You reveal them and you see what happens. Now, I'm very accepting of this because I love BattleCon, I love Exceed, and they have that exact same mechanic. But, some people won't like this one. It will feel too random. And I'll be honest, a lot of my liking for this game, the reason why I put it at number 9 is hope. Because I played the Samurai and they were basically the same. but they now are going to have like a bunch of unique cards for each of the fighters and the Automa. So it's not going to feel the same when you play as them. There's going to be terrain. I didn't get to play with that. There's going to be a solo campaign. I didn't get to play with that. So, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't actually see, but the promise of it and the theme of the game and just quick fighting, which is one of my favorite genres of game, all of that holds a lot of promise for me. So we'll see if it actually lives up to all of that. But for now, it's my number 9. And here for my number 8 is a dungeon crawler. Wow, what is this really me? You might not know I don't always love dungeon crawlers, but I've had a lot of really fun ones this year, and one of them is Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. I have not played Red Dragon Inn, the original competitive game, but I love Battle for Greyport, which is their deck building town defense game, and this one's a ton of fun too. You've got these really unique heroes. Here's one of them, Eve, with kind of inbuilt actions and then action cards that level up throughout the course of the campaign. So this is a campaign game, and you can do a lot of really fun stuff. The theme is kind of whimsical, but the tactical combat is great. There's a lot of stuff that lets you move enemies into traps and set them up for combos with your friends. It's got a nice initiative system where you draw from a bag. Great leveling up with equipment and things to give you cooler and cooler stuff. The AI is great. It's in one of those adventure books, or actually, I don't know if it'll be an adventure book. I think they might have a board for each scenario. But yeah, they've got these boards, and the map is right there. It shows where everything is set up. It shows what the enemies do. It shows what their activations are. So it's all very clean and easy to run. And yeah, this is my kind of dungeon crawler. It's quick, but it's got tactical decisions. It's got really cinematic, quick gameplay where you're not just standing there and punching each other left and right. So very excited by this one. Now, the campaign is super long, so will I actually finish it? It's so tough for me to get through campaign games these days, but it's one that I want to play a lot, and I think my kids will enjoy as well because it's just light enough for them. And it's got this fun epic dice system where you share awesome dice with each other. So yeah, Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, another exciting one. And at number 7, we've got Earthborne Rangers, another adventure card game. I said I like these. So this one is very much in the vein of Arkham LCG and the other LCGs. It's got a lot of the DNA of them since some of the designers have worked on those games. But you're in this sort of verdant post-apocalyptic setting, which I really enjoy. I love, you're seeing the Aatrox on the board right now that hunted me down when I was doing my playthrough. I love how they did kind of this feeling of nature where animals will spawn and kind of interact with each other, and the predators will go hunting the prey, and then some environmental hazard like rain will mess with all of them. So I think that's really cool and interesting. The art that I've seen is beautiful. The resource management and card play are fun. It's kind of like a deck construction game, but that element seems pretty limited. Kind of, again, more like Arkham LCG, which is to my taste. I'm not as much of a person for trying out a new deck every time. So this is one that I really, really had a ton of fun with, and I, again, just love how they made this evocative setting kind of come to life. The negatives, the potential worries are that, like Lands of Galzyr, this is one that sort of has open world play and a narrative that you can keep on going with and kind of go in your own direction. But it seems in this one, they kind of have timers, and if you don't rescue somebody quick enough, then they get killed or taken somewhere else, or if you don't deal with something, then bad things happen. So I don't mind a more open narrative as long as there's some kind of, speed factor and some kind of pressure and things change. Now, there are things that are going to frustrate people. The challenge deck that I'm showing right now, that kind of modifies your tests, and it can be fairly random, and it kind of gets shuffled too much. I'm not sure how annoying that'll be in physical. In TTS, it wasn't that bad because I could just press the shuffle button and I was good to go. But yeah, there are some things that do worry me about this one, but the art, the great card play, and the promise of the theme and setting, I hope will make this one an amazing one when it comes out. And finally, at number 6, from Chip Theory Games, I know this is going to mess up a lot of people's brackets. I'm so sorry, everybody. It just barely missed the top 5 for the contest. But this is Hoplomachus Victorum. And I've talked about this one a lot, but Hoplomachus is a sort of Roman-ish themed gladiator game, and I liked it okay. It's kind of one of the weaker Chip Theory games for me, but still fun. But Victorum is all solo, all campaign focused. You build up your squad and you get new people, and your favorite characters can die and you have to find somebody else to replace them. Your hero levels up. You go against these epic monsters. They've got these great changing arenas. Here you have the Amazon one where these walls are constantly pushing you. The AI is super easy to resolve. The dice combat is, not super random because the dice each have pretty clear probabilities. I mean, it's random, but it's fast and it's fun. So yeah, this is one definitely has greatly increased my opinion, of Hoplomachus. And yeah, I mean, it was almost in my top 5. I really, really love this one. I want to go and play it some more and build another squad and take on some baddies and fight, fight, fight. And here, number 5 is the Dark Horse candidate that beat out Hoplomachus. Sorry, everybody. This is Paint the Roses, which is a cooperative deduction game where you're all putting down these tiles on this board. This is Alice in Wonderland themed. And you're trying to help everyone else guess what your pattern card is. And you're trying to figure out what theirs are. So, like, as every tile is laid down, everyone is involved. This is a game that, like, feels very simultaneous. And I'm realizing more and more as I play other ones, like Letter Jam recently, that I just adore deduction games. Like, quick little logical puzzles, especially when it's cooperative and simultaneous and fast to play and keeps everyone involved, are like, man, like up there with some of my favorite experiences to play with a group. So this one, it was so great. I hated sending my prototype away. Like, literally, I hated it. I was playing it with my son like 2 or 3 times a day. I was playing with my wife, my whole family. My 6-year-old was able to play it. But then you can like add in the expansion and get super duper crunchy to the point where any kind of gamer is going to have a hard time winning. So yeah, Paint the Roses blew me away with the kind of cooperative deduction puzzle that it offers. And yeah, my number 5 Kickstarter crowdfunding game of the year. Nice job, Paint the Roses. But the newness of Paint the Roses couldn't beat out the nostalgia of my number 4, Sentinels of the Multiverse, the definitive edition. Yes, I sold my entire collection of one of my, at least one time, favorite games to buy this new edition. And why? Why did I do that dumb thing? And the main reason is I got rid of Sentinels because I kind of lost, fallen out of love for it for a little bit. And the app definitely helped with that. I kind of played the app so much that I forgot how fun it can be co-op. But Sentinels was one of my favorite cooperative games. I love playing it with my son. I like playing with the 2-player variants or playing it solo, controlling a bunch of people. And, you know, this is like one of those games where you mix and match super diverse heroes with different environments and different villains. And I adore that kind of diversity and that modular gameplay. But the definitive edition, I've seen, you know, I don't know, 10 of the available decks on TTS or something like that. And everyone like took every problem I had with characters and everything that annoyed me and just made it work perfectly and made it interesting again and made like cards that used to just be an obvious play more compelling and more thought-provoking. So if I already kind of rediscovered my love of Sentinels by playing it more co-op, this one showed me that it's like the best version of Sentinels that can be. And, you know, will Greater Than Games finish the entire series again? I don't know. Maybe I won't collect the entire thing, but I definitely had to have this new set, have just a ton of content here. They really put a lot in it. And yeah, I'm so excited to get back to Sentinels and play more of this one, because it was one of my favorite games, and I think it will be again. But hey, I couldn't stay away from kind of the choose your own adventure feel. Here is my number 3 game of the year, crowdfunding game of the year, Agemonia. Man, this one came late and blasted me in the face. I adore this game. It is such a kind of nostalgia hit with like the art. You can see that on the card right now, the Light of the Moons, which really kind of gets me in my like lone wolf fighting fantasy vibes. But then they've got these beautiful books that you move around in. I love these adventure books. Give me these forever. And you have this really interesting stamina management system. Your characters power up and get these like really cool abilities that give them like different action options. And one of the best things is a sense of exploration. You see all the little letters on the board right now? All of these will give you different things and have different things happen. And, you know, even when I've played the same scenario multiple times, I'll go in different orders and there are other things to try out. Now, that is one knock against the game, especially early on before you get into some of the branching stuff. You're going to have some sameness if you play again. But I don't care, man. I played through the 3 or 4 scenarios they had available multiple times, like teaching different people, and I had a blast every time. Just the core like stamina management and fighting mechanics and action choice mechanics and inventory management and all of that is just so good. And the enemy AI is so simple and quick to resolve, but still fun. I don't know. This one is one of the best adventure games I played this year. And, you know, kind of has a dungeon crawlish feel, but with amazing narrative and amazing setting, amazing theme. Again, look at this, just so simple, the AI and the initiative track, but it works so well. Agemonia, fully recommend. My number 3. And where does that leave my number 2? A lot of you have probably been wondering when this one would show up, and I'm guessing many of you thought this would be my number 1, but it was pushed out by something. But this is Primal, which is a boss battler where you're going against these giant creatures, definitely themed after Monster Hunter. I talked about this one a whole bunch because I covered it, you know, very early in the year, so I've kind of been bragging or talking it through all the time. But I loved it in person. I loved it on TTS. The card play is awesome. The diversity between the characters is great. The crazy diversity between the bosses, even like bosses of the same type. It kind of reminds me of KDM, how like you go up to the next level of Lion and suddenly these vastly different things are happening. But the boss doesn't actually get a turn. Instead, it's all these like reaction cards, and you can kind of learn the boss's pattern. You really feel like you master the hunt of this creature, and you can predict what they're going to do. You have these great combos. You can help each other out, give each other cards, protect each other, tank for each other. Yeah, this is just a great, great game. So close to being my number one, but there's just one game that beat it out. But still, even though I'm kind of terrified of the all-in they're sending me, I think, which is, it's so many miniatures. I don't even know why I need all of them. It's not like the kind of thing I want. I'd be fine if they were just like tokens for the bosses. I know, I'm a loser. But Primal, the gameplay is stellar. I'm so excited to play it. So what the heck is my crowdfunding game of the year? If it's not Hoplomachus Victorum, if it's not Primal, well, here it is, folks. It is Valor and Villainy Ludwig's Labyrinth. Yeah, and here's why. I'm not saying those other games aren't necessarily going to be better. Maybe they will be. But this one had so much content on TTS, and I've played through the scenarios that are available like 5 or 6 times each. And I've had a blast every time. And I'm not bored in the slightest. I could go sit down and play through all of them again right now. And the core gameplay loop is just so fun, even though it's kind of repetitive. I played this game like 20 times on TTS, and I still want to play it more. You level up, you get loot, you build out the dungeon in this really fun exploratory way. The game's got great sense of humor. It's got really fun narrative. It's got an 8-scenario campaign, but it's not like really a campaign. You just unlock more cards, have more fun stuff to play around with. But then they've got like a billion side quests that are very, very replayable and have like a lot of diversity. The bosses are different. And if you buy Minions of Mordak, which I already own, then you can mix and match it with the Ludwig's content. I don't know. This shouldn't be my number one game of the year, but I have had so much fun. The actions are quick. I've had a great time teaching it to other people. I've taught it to a bunch of people in our Discord, and they've all really loved it too, generally. So yeah, this is just, it's weird for like a kind of dungeon crawly game to be my number one, but I cannot argue with how fun it is to explore and level up and kill things and make tough action choices. Oh, and I should say the card play and these cards you can play to help each other out, play potions on each other. There's like tons of cooperation even when it's not your turn, tons of way to help each other out. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this one. I'm so excited to get this. I just want to play it more. I want to play it in person. I want to play it physically. All I've played is on TTS, and that's fine. But yeah, Valor and Villainy, Ludwig's Labyrinth, my crowdfunding game of the year. Might be one of my top games of next year when it finally releases. And I cannot recommend this one highly enough. Go try it on TTS. They left a ton of content up there, so you can really see if you like it, get a sense for it. Can't recommend this one more strongly. Valor and Villainy. So there you go. That was a long one. 20 games takes a while to go through, but I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, we'll see what crowdfunding has to offer next year. I'm already playing some that are great. And if you saw my PAX video, there are some amazing games upcoming that we'll hopefully be covering. But yeah, this was a great year, and I hope you all had a lot of fun playing in it. In a week or two, you'll get my top 20 games of 2021 that have released. Not all from 2021, just games that I covered in 2021. So you might have some older games in there too. That's going to be a lot of fun too. And let's get to the contest results. I'm going to record that after I'm recording this, so my voice might sound a little bit less raspy. But yeah, let's see who won the contest and was able to predict my 5 top games for crowdfunding this year. All right, and here we go with the contest results. A whole ton of you entered this one, close to 150 people. And this one, it was brackets where you had to pick one of my top 5 games out of a group of 6. So for the first bracket, it was pretty easy for most people. Sentinels got 61% of the vote. Voidfall was the closest with 15% thinking I'd pick that. And in bracket 2, we've got Hoplomachus Victorum. This is the bracket that destroyed everybody. So sorry. That got 58%. The next runner-up was my actual game that was in my top 5. Valor and Villainy only got 18% though. Bracket 3 was again a more confident one. 43% of people calling Paint the Roses correctly, and then it was kind of a grab bag after that. Agents of Smersh got in there with 18%, Soul Readers 15%, Lens of Galzyr 12%. Bracket 4 was a dead heat, almost exactly the same vote count. Agemonia slightly lost by 1 vote to Earthborne Rangers, but it won the actual top 5, and then Beyond the Rift came in a bit behind that. And finally, in bracket 5, Primal dominated. 55% of people called that one correctly. Tales from the Red Dragon Inn was the next runner-up. And let's get to our contest. How many people got 4 out of 5 brackets right? We had a bunch. We had Hungry Gamer. Go check out his YouTube channel. Will Helsa King, Jack Rudder, Andrew Luxton Riley, Abby Longmore, Rats, Wizzy Wizard, Paul Round, Jonathan Trinastic. So 4 out of, oh, and one more, Earl Yaukason. So 4 out of 5, nice job. Do we have some 5 out of 5s though? I think you can guess with this format that we probably did. We had Joel Hoskins, Brian Bush after he won last month, Kikia, Patrick Herlihy, Ryan Picklesheimer, Rafael Pabon, and Eric Woning. 7 people got them all right. And you'll see some names in red. Those are our Patreon supporters. They're going to get double the entries as we roll things off. So we're going to roll a D12. If I get a 12, I'll just roll again. But otherwise, we will determine our winner. All right, here we go. Who's it going to be? A 6. And that means Patrick is our winner. I think this might be the second contest for Patrick. I think he won a Too Many Bones, a copy of that from Chip Theory Games way back when. So Patrick, not as big of a present this time, just 1 game for my collection. But congratulations and congrats to everyone who got this far. And thank you so much for entering the contest, everybody. We'll have another one in just a week. You should be able to find the link in this video and other places. And you can guess which games are in my top 20 for the entire year. Thanks, everybody, and happy holidays.